Now that we've learned about how verbs can change form, it's time to look at how verbs tell us when something happens and how the action unfolds. This brings us to two big ideas, tense and aspect. Both are part of the TMA system, which represents tense, mood, and aspect, which is how verbs provide information about tense, the timing of the action or state relative to the moment of speaking. Mood, the speaker's attitude toward the action, we'll cover this actually in the next video, and aspect, how the action unfolds over time. So to understand the nature of the English verb, it's important to be able to differentiate between these three components, tense, mood, and aspect. Now, I bet at some point in elementary school, maybe middle school, or even high school, you learned about the 12 tenses in English, and here I'm showing them using the main verb dance. I don't even have all of these memorized, but as a native speaker, I naturally know what I mean when I use them. If you look closely, you'll notice that many of these tenses are formed using auxiliary and modal verbs, the ones we talked about in our first video. Essentially, the 12 tenses are built from two components, tense and aspect, which is why we're focusing on these two in the TMA model in this video. Here's an important point. English only has two true morphological tenses, present and past. Present tense, for example, I walk, she eats, they are happy. Or past tense, I walked, she ate, they were happy. And notice how the verb form changes in the past, sometimes regularly with ed, right? And sometimes irregularly with words like eat becoming ate, or shine becoming shown, speak becoming spoke, and we gave other examples of irregular verbs in our last video. Some verbs like let and put don't change at all. And the verb be has many suppletive forms, am, is, are, was, were, and again, we saw these in one of the prior videos. So the main takeaway is that English only has two true tenses, past and present. But what about the future tense? And here's the surprise. English doesn't have a morphological future tense, meaning there is no specific verb form or ending that changes to indicate future time. Instead, we express future time in different ways. First, we use modals. I will go, she shall drive. Second, we can use the going to construction. I am going to study tonight. Third, we can use the present tense with future meaning. The train leaves at 6 tomorrow. Fourth, we can use progressive forms. For example, I'm swimming tomorrow. And finally, there are the regional or colloquial forms like I'm fixin' to work. So in simple terms, English verbs only have present and past forms. The future is always created indirectly by adding extra words like will or going to, or even using the present tense to point to the future. Now, a quick reminder about tense itself. Tense is deictic. It shows time in relation to the moment of speaking, the now, in other words. So simply put, tense is about situating an event in time. Present tense shows what is happening now, what happens habitually, and sometimes what will happen soon. For example, she studies every day. That's habitual. Or I leave for France on Thursday, which has a future meaning. Past tense shows what happened before. So for example, they walked to school yesterday. Future time refers to events after now, but as I mentioned, it is not marked on the verb itself. For example, we will eat later, or they are going to travel next year. So when we talk about tense as its own category, we're mainly focusing on past versus present. That is, the verb markings themselves. Next, we'll move into aspect, which shows how an action unfolds over time, whether it's ongoing, completed, habitual, or repetitive, and how aspect works together with tense to form the 12 English tenses we showed on the first slide. So while tense tells us when an action happens, aspect tells us how that action unfolds over time. In simple terms, tense equals when, and aspect equals whether the action is ongoing, finished, or repeated. So in English, there are three main aspects, which are progressive, perfect, and perfect progressive. Let's take a closer look at each one. Starting with the progressive aspect, also called continuous, the progressive shows that an action is in progress, something that's happening right now, or was happening over a period of time. It's pretty easy to spot. It's a form of the be verb plus an ing verb. For example, she is singing. Is the form of the be verb, and singing is the ing verb, right? So that's the present progressive. Or they were running. We have were as the form of the be verb and running as the ing, the main verb, right? And that forms the past progressive. So notice that the progressive tells us how the action unfolds, not just when it happens, and it can show up across different tenses. Next, let's look at the perfect aspect. The perfect shows that an action is completed, but it's still connected to another point in time. It's formed with the have verb plus a past participle, and it helps us see the action's relationship to other events. For example, she has studied. We have the verb have in the has form, and then also the past participle of study, which is studied. And that's the present perfect, linking a past action to the present. Or another example, he had eaten. That's the past perfect, showing completion before another past event. And you can even have the future perfect, such as I will have finished, an action completed before a future time. Finally, let's look at the perfect progressive aspect, which combines perfect and progressive. It shows an action that started in the past, is ongoing, and may continue, giving us both completion and duration. The form is have, the have verb, plus been, plus an ing verb. Okay, so for example, she has been singing for an hour. That's the present perfect progressive. Or he had been studying before the last test began. That's the past perfect progressive. We can also have the future perfect progressive. For example, with I will have been singing for 2 hours by the time you arrive. So the combination adds subtlety, letting us see when the action started, how long it lasted, and whether it's ongoing or completed. All three aspects, progressive, perfect, and perfect progressive, can occur in the past, present, or future. For example, the progressive, I am singing, I was singing, I will be singing. Or the perfect, I have sung, I had sung, I will have sung. And the perfect progressive, I have been singing, I will have been singing. This illustrates an important point, which is that tense tells us when the action happens, aspects tell us how it unfolds. And as a side note, English has other subtle aspectual distinctions, like habitual actions or completed versus incomplete actions. But for this video, we'll focus on these three main aspects. So to wrap up, understanding tense and aspect helps us read and write English more precisely. It lets us see whether someone is describing an action that is ongoing, such as she is working, completed, she has worked, or repeated, she works every day. So this knowledge is useful whether we're analyzing literature, academic writing, or just everyday conversation. And in our next video, we'll add another layer, which is mood and modality. So here we'll see how verbs can express not just time, but also attitude, possibility, and obligation. Understanding tense and aspect first will make mood and modality much easier to grasp. So we'll see you in the next video.